Welcome, students. Welcome to Logiquest Kaplan. Today, we have Dr. Ankur Singla with us. He needs no introduction. Most of you students would know it, especially from the Punjab area, Ludhiana area. Uh, Dr. Ankur has been a very old friend of mine, and definitely on our request, he just honored our request and he said, okay, fine, I'll just come over and talk to his students and give them as much as insights as we can. So let's invite Dr. Ankur here, and we're definitely going to ensure that for the next 30 minutes or so, we'll have a lot of rich content and information thoughts. So Ankur Singla, welcome to Logiquest Kaplan.
Thank you, Mr. Abhishek. So my name is Ankur Singla. I am a PGY1 at Northwest Health, and I'm a recent graduate from the Anand Medical College and Hospital, Ludhiana, Punjab. And yes, nice to be here. And we'll try to get as many questions answered in as short time as possible for you. Thank you.
Right. So let's begin with our first question, Dr. Ankur. When did this thought of USMLE first came to your mind? When did it strike your mind?
So actually what happened was I'm a 2016 batch student. So I started in 2016 with my MBBS, and it was in 2019 that I started preparing for NEET PG first. And then COVID came, pandemic came, and then I finished my final prof and internship was about to start. That's when I decided to change the road and shifted gears from NEET PG towards USMLE. Actually, what changed it was, just that 1 month which I had after my final prof exams. I had some time to talk to my maternal uncle here in US. He's a doctor here. So he kind of gave me insights that why he came to US and what's different compared to practicing in India. And that's how, all of a sudden I changed my route and started preparing for MLE at the start of my internship itself.
So while the pandemic, the COVID time was a pandemic for rest of the world, but it was a blessing in disguise for you, I would say.
Yeah, definitely it was. I got some time to ponder and, just think what I'm gonna do later in my life. And today
Right.
here I am.
Great, great. Nice to know. So, did you do any research, and who helped you in doing the entire mentorship? Did you do it on your own, or there was some mentor and guide?
Mhm. So actually, even before I decided to go for this MLE thing, I was always interested in research. I would rather owe it to my parents. Both my parents, they are PhDs in their own fields, so they have like hundreds of papers published of their own. And from them, I learned that this is how we write the papers, the very basic thing. And then in 2019, I believe that was the time when we had ICMR STS projects going on for all the four profs. Now it's limited to just first and second prof, I believe. So I was in third prof at that time, the pre-final year. So that's when I did an ICMR STS project with one of my mentors in neurology. So that's where my journey with research started actually. And then following that, one of my attendings in dermatology, she was the one who like taught me the very basics of how to write a case report. So that's what my suggestion is to everyone out there, that you should always find a good case report, a unique case report. You'll always find that in your hospitals. Talk to your residents, attendings, fellows, whoever is there, and you'll definitely find a good case report to write on. Discuss it with them and write it, get it published. So that is where you can start learning the very basics with a case report, I believe, or a letter to editor. And then you can start building on it, do some original research work or a review article. And finally, now these days, I'm trying to learn how to do a meta-analysis. So that is how you climb steps, step by step. So that is how it worked for me. And obviously, I had mentors on every step. I have worked with the cardiology, neurology, dermatology, rheumatology. I mean, I had attendings in my own med school. I used to find them, reach out to them, even in oncology. That yes, sir or ma'am, that I need to work with you. I mean, I'm really interested in working with you because I was into research. I mean, other even before USMLE. So I mean, for USMLE per se, you can always do research. But I would say that if you are pursuing USMLE, then try to find an area of interest that can actually boost you or push you to work towards the research thing. So that's my suggestion to all out there.
Great. So when you mentioned that you started off with your research journey as early as third year, so did you keep in mind that you are doing this research from the USMLE perspective? It was just that your passion towards research, irrespective of where do you want to get into?
I mean, I was preparing for NEET PG back then. There was no USMLE on my plans back then, no, not on my bucket list at all. So this was all out of my passion for research. That yes, I need to do something in research and have some things published, and because this is something where I want to bring change into. Coming to US, one of my I would say one of my reasons to come to US is that there are much more research opportunities here and much more grants available here, so that I can work on bigger things and bring some change in our medical field, bring something new in here. So that's one of my purposes of coming to US.
Great, great. So since you started off with your research in the third year, would you want to tell us more about when did you start with your your USMLE thing in terms of when did you start and how long did it take you to complete all the steps?
Yeah. So basically, I started in because my internship started in April 2021, I believe, and I started preparing for my USMLE Step 1 somewhere in September 2021. And then it took me like 8 months, I believe. I gave my Step 1 in April 2022. Following that, I didn't have a B1, B2 visa back then, so I started working on getting that. And then I gave my Step 2 that don't follow this with what I did here. That I gave my Step 2 in August 2023, got my results just in time, got ECFMG certified just in time to apply for the math cycle in September 2023. Don't follow this. Give your steps as early as possible. And I mean, step 2 must be done before July or even maximum by July of the year when you're going to apply. So this is what I did. And then obviously I had to give my step 3 as well, which I gave in December 2023. I just took like 1.5 months to prepare for my step 3 and just got it done with. I gave 6 months to step, 8 months to step 1, 6 months to step 2, and just 1.5 months to step 3.
I would say now that is a record breaking finishing step 3.5 months. That is really record breaking because I've seen students taking average of about 3.5 months to crack the step three.
Yeah,
But
so don't keep too much gap between your step 2 and step 3. So that kind of helped me to give my step 3 earliest.
certainly, yes, I believe the combination of or continuation of the same subjects spilling over to
Yes,
the step three will definitely
exactly.
help you. That
Sure, it does.
correct,
But
correct.
yes, make sure that you have good basics with I mean, with the step 1 going pass and fail. What students tend to do is they just okay, just brush up step 1 in just 2 3 months or 4 months, and that doesn't build the foundation which they need for step 2. So I would suggest that give enough time, at least 4 or 5 or 6 months to step 1. Build a good foundation, because that's going to help you with the other steps as well. So that's my suggestion there.
Right. So did you give more importance to your CV building and which all components did you feel very important and necessary for CV building per se? Because every single student who comes to us, the first question that they have is CV building is first and then comes the USMLE. So since there's a lot of vibe around regarding the CV building, we would want to know more about your side of the story.
Yeah, so my suggestion would be here that in your CV, in your ERAS CV or ERAS application, you should have all the spots filled in. There should be no heading going empty over there. Be it research, be it volunteer experience, be it your USMLE step scores, the most important thing, and be it any other heading. It should be all filled there. I mean, when you're filling the ERAS application, there shouldn't be a single heading that goes empty in there. You're like, oh, I don't have stuff to write in there. That shouldn't be the case with you when you are applying for the math cycle. Make sure of that. That's the only thing which I would suggest here. And my perspective per se, I did research, as I told you. I did get some volunteer opportunities in and around me. But in terms of volunteer opportunities, my suggestion would be to go with nyreach.org. That's a kind of an NGO which works in New York, which gives you free rotations as well as gives you free volunteership opportunities and certificates. So you can reach out to them. you can reach out to Red Cross here in America, as well as they work in bigger cities in India like New Delhi, Mumbai, etc. You can reach out to them because getting certificates from such influential organizations where you have volunteered even just for 1 or 2 days, that's gonna just fill your column of volunteer as well. And yes, obviously getting good step scores is something that comes to the highest priority, takes the highest priority. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, that's a very wonderful input, I would say. So, students, I'd like to reiterate and rephrase what just Dr. Singla said. nyreach.org is the site. You can make a note of it, and will definitely it is going to help you as per the experience stated by Dr. Ankur Singla. Right. Moving on to the next question, Dr. Singla. Now, again, I know I'm coming back to the same question again and again, but it's not me, but the students who are completely confused and they have more questions more on the CV building as well as the research. So again, coming to the research part of it, did you do any research publication when you had started, and where all did you get those published? How many do you think you have done over a period of time? And if you can, just give some insights on those.
So, since I was an internal medicine applicant, I can tell you more about that. The math cycle that ended just before my math cycle, the 2022-23 math cycle, the average number of publications that internal medicine applicants had were 6, which is
Mm-hmm.
a pretty big number, I believe, for anyone out there. So, I mean, maybe the average has gone high. You need to check it. We need to check it that average went high this match cycle or not, 2023, 4. So, if we consider 6 or 7 as the average, then you need to have at least those average number of publications, in order to sit in the match. But again, it's not necessary. It's very relative because the thing is in the ERAS application, when you go through it, there are 2 sections under research. So one of them is published research, one of them is submitted research. So what you guys can do is that average came out of both of them together. So in my case, I had 8 publications and 7 submissions by the time I applied for the math cycle. So you can just have an average of 6 to 7, which should be a total of submitted as well as published things. So even if you are a little late to start with the research thing, you can start with it right away, and maybe just get up to 4 or 5 or 6 publications, which is good enough. And even if they are not published, you can at least submit them into some good journals where you have the chances of getting them published later in the future. I mean, maybe during the math cycle or whenever, because it's math cycle goes on for like 6-7 months. So that's plenty much time that they can do the peer review, and you can get a publication during the math cycle. And if you get something which you had submitted in September and it got published later on, you can always send an email to the programs. Oh, I have a new publication, I have my step 3 scores now, etc. That is something you need to keep on updating them. So because they are not going to re-download your new applications if you make some edits or changes to it, you need to just get on email with them that yeah, I have this new thing. Maybe they start considering you as a more potent applicant for their program. So this is how it works.
So did it take you about more than 3 years for considering all the 7+ publications that you just referred to?
Not 3 years. I started again in like my publications. Actually, I got my first publication in December 2021. So that's when it started, and I applied in September 2023. So it was pretty much less than 2 years that I got all
For
these
all these
publications.
collectively, for all these publications.
Yeah, this was just in that 1.5 year, so 2022 and the first half of 23. So that's pretty much it. I was actually fortunate to get good mentors in my own med school, and obviously some seniors and some other mentors which I found online on LinkedIn and Twitter, etc. So that is how it worked for me.
Great. Really nice and inspiring to know. So audience, this is definitely a takeaway for you to, try and decide what you want to get into and quickly decide on to the topics that you would want to, start your projects and research with, and then off you go. Right. Could you please suggest some famous journals where students can consider publishing their papers, which are easy process as far as the IMGs are concerned, especially for my Indian audience?
Yeah. So what happens is that we, as IMGs, always try to target American journals or international journals for our publications. And of course, we don't want to pay them $3,000 or $4,000 just for one publication because we don't have that kind of money to give it to them. So what I did was that one of my tricks here is that I used to write to journals that I am a medical student and I belong to this, there is a term that goes by low and middle income countries, LMICs. So India is one of the middle income countries right now in that bracket. So what you can do is you can write to the journals, like I wrote it to BMC infectious diseases for one of my case reports, and there are a few more journals where I wrote to them that okay, I'm a medical student, I belong to an LMIC, that is a middle income country, India, and since I don't have that much funds that you are desiring to have to get my paper published, so it would be great if I could get a complete waived off article publication charges. And yes, some journals it fortunately worked for me. And like, yeah, another one was American Journal of Blood Research. So American Journal
Mhm.
of Blood Research, and then there was BMC Infectious Diseases and some other journals where I published it for free. They waived off all my APCs, the article publication charges. That was all because I just put in a little effort in writing an email to their editor in chief that yes, I cannot give that much amount of money, and I got it for free. And yes, other than that, there are always other journals where which are hybrid journals where you can publish in the subscription mode so that they don't charge you for it. So that is kind of how I work my way through it. I didn't pay anything actually till date. I have not paid anything for any of my publications. I have 16 publications as of now. I have not paid a single penny for any of my publications yet.
Wow.
So another one is Cardiology in Review, a very good journal again. They take some time. I mean, it takes 6 to 8 months or maybe up to a year to publish your things. But yeah, they do it for free. So these are some journals where you can give a try. And even if you find a journal very good for your particular case report or any paper, and you want to get it published there, but it has very huge publication charges, article publication charges like 3,000, 4,000 bucks USDs. So you just need to write it to them that yeah, I'm belonging to this area, and it would be great if I could get the charges waived off, and it might work. You never know. Just give it a try.
That's nice. Right. Fair enough. So I'm pretty sure, students must have, got some more insights and ideas about how to go about this. Now, coming to the next favorite segment of the Indian students is one, as I said, one is research, and the other obviously is the clinical rotations. Now, let's understand more about your journey of clinical rotation. So, when did you start applying? Which year were you in, and how soon before the start date did you start applying for these rotations? How many did you do?
So I did like 4 months of clinical rotations in US, and
Mhm.
I started pretty late because as I told you, that I started with my USMLE journey at the start of my internship year, actually in the middle of my internship. So it was already pretty late. Gave my step one in April 2022, and then I was parallelly working on getting a B1 visa secured. I would suggest getting it earlier, but yes, I was running pretty late on that as well. So I secured my visa interview as early as possible in November 2022, and I was getting graduated in April 2023. So I had just those 3 or 4 months left when I had to get done with my clinical rotation. So as soon as I got my visa in November, I just started off with third party or agency rotations at first in December and January. Then in February, I was able to secure. In December, I did one of the rotations at Jackson Park Hospital in Chicago. Then another one I did at an hospital which was affiliated to UAB in Huntsville, Alabama, which goes by the name of Pulmonary and Sleep Associates, Huntsville Hospital. So that's where I did my second month of rotation. The third one was at Kansas University. I was really happy that through very proper channel through their website, I had applied and was able to secure it at the very last moment. I was able to get that the elective for my February 2023 in January 2023. That's when I got an acceptance. And all of a sudden, it changed all my plans that I was not going back to India so early after January. And I was able to secure that interview. And then through one of my connections, I was able to secure another uh, USCE in the month of March 2023. So that was a clinic-based rotation. So a clinic-based rotation, university-based rotation, and then two third-party or agency-based rotations. These were the 4 months of rotations that I could secure.
And all of those were through the VSLOs.
No, nothing was through VSLO. I mean, VSL. My med school did have VSLO. I spent a lot of money through VSLO, and I couldn't get anything. So again, it's a lot of luck that works there. I mean, many of my colleagues' lucks did work, and they were able to secure one rotation. Maximum one rotation is two rotations is what you can get through VSLO. You can't get all the rotations through VSLO. There
Right.
are not so many options available there. So some of my colleagues were able to secure it through VSLO.
So
Not
these four rotations that you're referring to, so were all of, I'm hoping and assuming that all of these four were hands-on and none of those were observership.
all of them were hands-on, yes, because I was not a graduate back then, so I made sure that I did all my rotations hands-on, no observerships.
Right.
Yes, but I am again saying so. I would also like to emphasize that doing observerships is could sometimes be better than doing these hands-on rotations. I'll tell you why. So what happens is there are some programs where if you do your observerships maybe starting in the month of May, June, July, August, September, October, or November. These are few months when you do rotations or observerships with attending or the PDs in a particular program, and you can actually what you're doing is when you're doing an observership in these programs, make sure that these programs have IMG friendly residency programs
Rest of progress, yeah.
where you're doing the rotations. Because if you do rotations or observerships in such programs, the PD or the attending, they are kind of interviewing you side by side, and you might be able to secure an actual interview or actual spot in that program, even pre-match in those programs if they have that opportunity in their program, or just getting a normal match in that program. That will be really helpful if you find such programs and do observerships during the match cycle or just before the match cycle, because I believe that this is something which is more important than finding just hands-on rotations or actually doing both of them. I can't, just compare both of them because I haven't done any observerships myself. But there are a lot of colleagues whom I keep talking to, and they were able to secure interviews through the observerships which they did during the match season, and that helped them match as well.
Right. I completely agree with you. Even I suggest the same thing to my students as well. Uh, when they come to me for asking about rotations, I strongly recommend them that at least find one or two such minimum hospitals or spots where they are offering you residency. So when you're there on a
Yes.
4 weeks of rotation, they're literally observing you, and in case if you give your application, send your application the same place, they know, oh, Dr.
Yes.
Ankur Singla, I know him. He's been with me for longest of the time, and
Exactly.
that's what
Exactly.
attracts their attention. So, but
Yes.
many a times I've also come across students are more keen on uh, the branded letters of recommendation, like maybe a
Yeah.
Mayo Clinic or a Cleveland Clinic or Mount Sinai. So these kind of hospitals. I mean, it's good to do, but uh, if you say
Again,
I
there's a
want this
limitation
only, it's
that
really
you
difficult. So
might
what
not
are
get.
your views?
Yeah. I mean, obviously doing a rotation at Mayo Clinic or Cleveland Clinic, but you still might not be able to secure an interview there because they are I mean, two Ivy League for IMGs, right? So that is one thing. And the other thing which I wanted to emphasize was be active on LinkedIn and Twitter, because there are a few program directors who open up spots for observerships on LinkedIn and Twitter itself. And they say that, oh, this is a 7 or 10 day or a 2 week bracket when you can send emails to them at a particular email, and they will consider you for observership. So this is something which you need to keep your eyes open early in May or June or April, around that time, because that's when they are selecting students whom they want to do observerships with, and maybe select them for an interview or something. So make sure you have a highly active account, as active as Instagram, on your LinkedIn as well.
Great. Now, if someone has to choose between a university hospital versus a community hospital, obviously university hospital, everyone, it's like a thing to do.
Yeah.
But I personally do not see any harm in getting into a community hospital, considering the patient load and the exposure that you would be getting for for the clinicals. What are your views and thoughts on that?
I would say my views don't matter on that. I'll tell you why. So what happens is, see, suppose I applied to 250 plus programs, right? Or just let's consider that number as 100. I applied to 100 programs. There will be 50 program directors or the faculty who are going through your applications here, and the 50 here. These 50, they'll be like, okay, I'll whenever they are seeing the LORs of the students or the applicants, what they are gonna see is that, okay, what is the letterhead on the on the LORs. So there will be 50% of those PDs who will just look at your letterheads, right? And yeah, if you get a university hospital letterhead, yeah, that's gonna be a huge thing for them, and they're gonna place you high, rank you high, or give you interviews and all. So that is how it matters to 50% of them. Whereas the other 50% program directors, they are like, who go through the LORs completely and see that what work you have done, and that is what matters to them. This is, I believe, a culture at my program at least. So there are two sets of thoughts and two sets of program directors or programs across the US where I mean, that's why I said my view doesn't matter. You need to just gauge that maybe getting a university letterhead helps you at some programs, and it doesn't help at other programs because the content isn't that good. And at those other set of 50% programs, it's gonna matter what the content is in the program, which you might get better at a university, so at a community hospital, because you get more direct time with the attending. He or she that attending doesn't has any fellows with them in a community hospital. They just have residents and the medical student with them. So you have more direct face-to-face time with the attending, and they can write you better LORs, more content, more good content in the LORs, and that's gonna matter to the those 50% of the programs. So that's very relative here. You know what I mean?
True. I'm equally of the same opinion, and this is exactly what I, keep on telling students as well. But it's good in a way that you equally, portray the same thing. So, like, when two experts are like, giving a same opinion, it's like a double confirmation for the students to know that yes, this is what I have to, just go ahead and follow that. Uh, can you just specify any occasion where you felt which was more challenging and you had a new learning during the USCs? Any challenging such scenario or episode that you came across?
So I had like experience of using Cerner and Epic EMR systems, both of them, and one more Athena EMR system at different places where I rotated. So what happened with me was that while I was using those EMR systems, we don't have any, well-defined EMR systems back in India or any other country, I believe. So because I didn't have those EMR systems in India, I didn't have how to use them, how to get the patient information, how to extract it to my use, and frame my own assessment and plan back then. So that was the main thing which I felt that this is really difficult. How am I gonna set into the system? This is very difficult. But it took me just 1 week, and I was very good with the EMR system, whether it is Epic or whether it was Cerner. And I just could focus on how to frame good assessment plans, and just talk to my attending, ask my doubts, and frame good assessment and plans, put good notes. Those were something which I could do in the second, third, and fourth week once I learned the EMR system. So I believe the major thing which I faced there was learning the EMR system in the first week whenever I entered into a rotation.
Great, great, nice. So I'm pretty sure, after learning, having a new learning now, when you're doing your daily, routine, things would have been really sorted,
Yeah.
as opposed to if you wouldn't have done that in
Yes,
through
of
your
course.
rotations. Great. Now, Dr. Singh, tell me, I mean, just before about a couple of minutes ago, you just mentioned while speaking that you did take your step three in December of 2023.
Yes.
And I believe you must have definitely applied in September of 23, and then you've taken your step three after about a couple of months, and then you must have updated your ARAS application as well.
Right.
Now, yours was a different case and scenario, but for the upcoming students who are now planning to apply maybe this cycle or next cycle, or maybe next to next cycle, what would you suggest regarding their take on step three? Should they be taking it well in advance, or they can consider taking a step three once they're in the US and doing in the parallelly, maybe the transitional year or
Yeah.
categorical residency that they've got?
So Yeah, I mean, the way it's getting more and more competitive each year for IMGs, I would suggest that give your step three before you apply in September, right? So for me, it was a different case. I gave my step two in August. It wasn't possible for me to give my step three at such a fast pace when I was, just getting done with my ERAS application and all. So yeah, what I did was that I gave my step three in December 2023, updated all the programs via email, and obviously the ERAS application got updated and revised by itself, but it didn't help me much because it was already too late into the math season, right? So I
Right.
would suggest here that give your step three maximum by August in whatever year you are going to apply, so that you have your results in 2 to 3 weeks time, and you can put that result in your ERAS application when the programs download ERAS applications. So what happens is, for example, this year, I think the deadline for application submission is somewhere 24th or 25th September, I believe, right? So what you guys can do is you give your step three before that. Why? Because what happens is, as soon as September 24 or 25 comes, the very next day, the programs have access to all the applications of all the students, whatever they have uploaded in there. They just download all those applications of everyone in just one click, and they're not or never gonna visit the ERAS applications of you guys again or download them again if you revise your step three score in
Application.
there after a month or so. So
Right.
it is always better to have it before the application deadline, submission deadline, because then that will have your step three included in the applications that they download for you guys, and maybe that helps you, keeping you up in the bundle of the review of applications, because they're gonna have 8 to 10,000 applications. Most of the programs are gonna have those many applications in their pack, so that's gonna help you if you give it before you apply.
So in your case, did you happen to update the program directors via email that you've taken a step three and these are your scores for review?
Yes, that's what I did. I wrote to the program directors, like 250 plus programs where I had applied to. I just wrote a email which I framed and just wrote it to all of them. Just changed the name of the program director, dear dash, and just sent an email to all of them. But again, it didn't help me much because it was pretty much late in the math
Late.
season
Okay.
already, and I got my results in January because I gave it in December, and January is like March is just coming around, so
True.
it didn't help me much there. Yeah.
Right. So audience, this is exactly a takeaway. If you are planning for a step three, plan well in advance and please account those 3 to 4 months with some buffer in hand during your timeline so that you know that you can easily fit in and squeeze in the step three scores as
Yeah.
well if you're looking
Of
forward
course,
for
if you can't, if your timeline is such that it's already running very tight, you will just be able to give your step two before the match application deadline submission. It's fine. It's pretty much fine. You can give your step three later on, like I did in November or December, whenever. But never postpone it to the time that you will give it in your intern year during your first PGY1 residency, because it's very hectic. You have a lot of stuff to learn here. It's gonna be a really steep slope. I believe it's for me as well. So never leave your step three back till then. Give it, I mean, during the math season if you're not able to give it before the application deadline.
right, right.
Yeah.
Fine. Now, since we're talking about the application part of it, would you want to give more emphasis and your inputs on the ERAS application?
So see, ERAS application is a very big thing. It might need another an hour to just
Couple
focus
of
on the
episodes,
ERAS
maybe more.
application. Yeah. So what we can do is, I mean, there were a few points where, I had stuck while I was filling my ERAS application, and I consulted at least 8 to 10 of my seniors or people on LinkedIn, whoever I met there, the previously matched residents, that, oh, what I need to do about this. One of those questions was geographical preferences. That should we fill geographical preferences or not? So there were two schools of thoughts. See, you guys are going to apply, mostly all of us are going to apply to around at least 200 programs. 190, 188 could be 210, 220, whatever. Around 200 programs, everyone is going to apply, right? So when you're applying to those programs are going to be spread out all over the US. Now, if you specify a geographical location, oh, my geographical location is New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, because that has maximum number of programs, or I have my family, extended family, my friends there. You could do that, obviously, but what that will do is that might undermine your chances at other places. But again, we weren't sure about this because what was our discussion was that the other programs, for example, if you have applied to some programs in LA, California, etc., or Washington, are they going to see that your geographical preferences is not them and someone else? We are not sure about that, right? So that is something we were really curious to know, and we don't have the answer to that till date. Whether or not the other programs in the other location, they are able to see that, oh, this particular student didn't choose me as his or her geographical preference. We are not sure if that's how it works, right?
Right.
So it's kind of a debate which was going on. Some of my very good friends, they disagreed with me. Oh no, they went with the geographical preferences. I didn't go with geographical preferences, and I think it didn't matter much in the end. I mean, the result was pretty much the same for everyone. So that is a choice which you need to make based on what your seniors from your own med school say, or I mean the mentors or your mentors say during the maths. I mean, you need to see it, what is the which direction is the wind running in September exactly. That will answer your question this year. Other than that, there is one more thing which I had noted for you. Yes. There is a column which goes there, which by the name of memberships on honorary societies or professional societies. So what we guys tend to do is we used to have those ACP, ACC, American College of Physicians, American College of Cardiology, or ASN, American Society of Nephrology memberships. Student memberships are always free, so I used to have them, and I just had put them in my list. But there are a few good things which are happening these days. For example, there are sessions by AAPI, American Academy of Physicians of India, of Indian origin. So AAPI. So that is some good sessions which which they hold every month virtually as well as in person. That is number one. Then there are some research challenges like by the AMA, American Medical Association. So American Medical Association has a very cheap membership. I think around $30 to $35 for students or just who graduated. So that's a very cheap membership you guys can have. And they are holding a research challenge as well in the mid of July. I believe July 16th is the deadline that they have, in which they are accepting those case reports or clinical vignettes, which you can submit to them and win thousands of dollars of prizes from them if your case report or your submission gets accepted, and you can just work it out, and then you can maybe, if that gets accepted, you can then have it published separately, or maybe they publish it for you. I mean, you need to see that. But yes, those are some research challenges you can focus on, and just be a part of those membership societies, because as I said earlier, none of your columns should be empty. This is one of those columns which goes empty for many students, so it shouldn't be empty for you when you apply. So there are much more things in the ERAS application which we can keep on discussing as we go ahead, but these are some things which we need to focus on.
I'm definitely sure my audience must have made a note of all of these resources and where to go and when to go, etc. That's great. Uh, since we're talking about the programs and applications, I just want to know and understand more about how many programs did you personally apply and how many interviews did you receive out of those? So we can just
Yeah,
understand the
so
ratio.
for me, the stats weren't very good. I mean, it was a pretty rough season for me as well as my colleagues. So what happened was I round up to around like 250 plus 240 250 applications programs where I applied to, and I got 4 interviews out of them. But I believe, to be on a safe side, if you're able to secure 6 to 7 interviews, that's pretty much a safe side for you to go with. Because if you have those many interviews, then yes, you can be almost sure of getting selected somewhere. I obviously know some of my friends actually, who didn't get matched this year despite having very good scores, despite having 7 to 8 interviews, right? And so it's pretty much a little bit of luck definitely works there, other than your 90% of your hard work in there. So that's what it was for me. But I would suggest is that keep it a little low this year, go up to around 200 programs, because the number of signals are increasing from 7 to 15 this year. So, I mean, there will be a lot of programs who are just gonna give you interviews based on if you signaled them or not. So, applying to more programs might not help this year.
Okay. Great. Now, I know it's a very vague question because the questions can flow in any time, but do you have any Tips for our audience and students who are watching you right now. What are the typical common questions that you can expect? At least, if not all, my students can at least prepare for those questions and be prepared. Okay, fine. They're like they know that this could be asked, and at least they're prepared with it. So, any inputs or any common questions do you think?
You mean the questions asked in the interviews?
Interviews. That's right. In the
Okay, okay.
interviews.
Okay, so I mean, the common questions we usually get asked in interviews are like, tell me about yourself is the first question that usually you guys have heard about as being asked. Then the question that they have very commonly is why medicine, why internal medicine, or why family medicine, whatever you guys are applying to, or why psych. That is some number two. Number three can be why USA? Why do you want to leave your home country, come to USA to pursue your residency over here? That is number three question. And another question, which is a very tricky one, is that yes, why our program? Why do you prefer or why do you like the our program? And what do you like in our program? And why would you like to join our program? Is something that they definitely ask, and that's a very tricky one to answer because you know you need to make sure that you don't hurt their sentiments and just don't overdo it as well. So that is number four. Number five is, which I was asked very commonly, was I had to tell my strengths and weaknesses. So make sure in that the part about the weaknesses, that tell your weakness in such a way that you come around circle and tell them that yes, this is how I'm working on my weakness and this is how I'm improving on it. So that is how you tell your weakness. Never tell your weakness and without telling that you are how you're working on to improve it, right? So that is, those are some four or five questions which are asked very commonly. And then of course there are some atypical questions. You can always reach out to Mr. Abhishek for the list. Kaplan has that list of questions what are being asked during the interviews, and you can prepare your answers through them. What another thing which happens is that there were a few volunteers, I would say, last year who made some WhatsApp groups for all of us, especially the people in India and outside all the IMGs. And we used to have those Zoom meets and Google meets, and we used to discuss our answers with each other, and that helped us build confidence as well as frame our answers for the interviews. That's what we started in September, October onwards, and we used to have sessions preparing for the interview questions. So be active on WhatsApp, I would say, or LinkedIn, and be a part of those groups and participate with your peers who are, you know, just preparing those answers and prepare your answers with them.
Yeah. That was very insightful. And one more input which just came to my mind, I'd just like to add here is don't Google for answers, don't copy
Yeah.
the same answers, and do not use ChatGPT for sure.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Otherwise, you would definitely get doomed because these guys would get to know within fraction of second that this is not coming from you. So refrain from such things and be as natural as you can. That's what I feel, if I'm not wrong, Dr.
Yes,
Ankur.
yes, yes, yes. You're very right. I mean, there should be like when I'm speaking to you, I'm having some breaks in my answers, right? So there should be those pauses and breaks coming in there. It shouldn't be like a fluent answer as if you have like practiced it 100 times and you're just speaking it so fluently. You're gonna get caught for that.
Correct, correct, correct. Now, while you're giving an interviews, do you remember of any super tough question that came into you, which you were not prepared, you never thought of, and in such kind of situation where you it's like, oh, now I do not know what do I do. So how should one react in this kind of a situation and overcome that question, ensuring that you end up answering that question? We cannot skip or ignore that question, of course. So what do you suggest here?
So if there comes a question which you have not prepared for, it happened to me during my first interview as well. So what you need to do is first thing, just calm down. If that is with some core faculty, some program director or chief resident, whoever you are interviewing with, just say them that you are gonna take a few moments, few seconds, have some water or something, and by the time you probably that works for me. I don't know if it works around for everyone, that I get clicked with some answer and I just go ahead with it, whatever thought comes to my mind first. So one of the questions which I was asked early on during my first interview, I got my first interview a little early. I wasn't really prepared for my interviews at that very start. I think so. That question was that tell me about a mistake which you made during your patient care and how did you admit it to your resident fellow or attending, and I mean how are you working on it to improve it. So this was a question which all of a sudden, came out, and I was like, okay, I'm not prepared for the answer. So what I did was that I just thought of a small anecdote of what happened with me exactly, and I just went on with it. That was a real incident that actually happened with me. So it was that I was working in the oncology as a JR after graduating from my MBBS. So what happened was that my attending came in for the rounds. I was looking into the lab reports of a patient, and he asked me for lab reports of another patient. I confused both the patients and showed him the lab reports of the patient which I was looking into. And when he was going through them, he found some, that, oh, the counts are high or something. And I was like, oh, I'm showing him the wrong patient's labs, and he asked for a different patient's labs. And that's when it occurred to me. I immediately admitted, yes, oh, sorry, sir, sorry, Dr. Dash, and yes. So I'm showing you the wrong reports, and I'll have the right reports for you, the right labs of the right patient for you, and then we can go ahead with that. And yeah, we didn't put any orders as of yet. We didn't order any nurses that, oh, we need to have this medication on him or this test on him yet. So it was pretty fine. We didn't do a very big mistake, and it was caught on early. So this is something which I had done at that time. My attending acknowledged that, yeah, it's fine doing such small mistakes, but he took it really nicely, and he also told me an anecdote from his residency time when he used to make such mistakes, and that's how we that incident was. So that's pretty much how I described it, just naturally coming in. So always take a few moments, be calm if the question is something you have not prepared for. But definitely, I think once you have that list from Mr. Abhishek, you are going to cover all the atypical questions. I mean, he has the list from me, and so that list has all the questions. I think you won't miss anything. Even if you do, be calm.
Right. Now, after all the interviews that you'd given after the season, how confident were you of getting a spot, or you just left it to luck?
So actually, as I told you, if I had secured 6 to 7 interviews, I would have been pretty much more confident as to what I was back then. I had 4 interviews, but still, my interviews went well, and I was pretty confident that yes, I should be able to secure a spot in either of those 4 programs. And it was a difficult task for me to, rank all the 4 programs. Again, people getting more interviews, it must be even more difficult for them to rank it. But yes, going through it, I was confident that yes, I should be able to, one of the programs should be able to pick me up.
Well, I'm pretty sure, this, whatever you just said, has definitely inspired and given a positive vibe to all our audience. And I'm just hoping that, the upcoming generation is also as confident as you were. So, yeah. Uh, Now, one very important $1 million question. What was your reaction when you received a sweet, letter from the NRMP? What was your
Hmm.
reaction like?
Okay, so it was around 7:30 p.m. I believe in the evening when we received that email from NRMP that, oh, congratulations, you have matched. So that is something that always, I was looking to it towards since 2 to 3 years now, that, oh, someday I'm going to get that email and I'm going to get matched and start my residency here in US. So I mean, that was the biggest thing. I mean, in at that particular month, I believe a biggest thing that happened to me. We all were very happy. My parents, my family, we all were very happy. And it's kind of a ritual for, not for my family. It's a ritual which I follow. I usually, like, since few years, tend to go visit a mandir or a gurudwara and or a masjid, and as well as a church. I visit all those places nearby in my town, and so that's what I did. And yeah, I mean, I just, after that, we started calling each other, my friends who had matched and who hadn't matched. And though, so we started helping them who didn't match with the soap and all. So that's what I did for the next 4 days. That yes, now it's my responsibility that some of my friends who, because it was a brutal season, as you know, right? So some of my friends were left out. So I helped them with the soap and all. So that was pretty much it. And yes, that day, I still remember that day. It was like the most happiest day in my life till date.
True. I can definitely visualize, the happiness just going around through your aura, and you must be on cloud nine for sure. And I'm equally sure that, after your birthday, the next date that you're going to remember for the rest of your life is going to be 11th of March. That's when you got that email.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Great. Now, just talking about last a few questions. We don't want to take much of your time. What are your views on application for the clinical rotations via the VSLO and outside the VSLO?
So see, what it is that 90% of the rotations are still available outside of VSLO. There are just 5 to 10% of rotations which are available on VSLO. But those 5 to 10% available on VSLO are like some big rotations, like the Mayo Clinic and all. Yeah, or University of Pittsburgh. So those are some big rotations which are available on VSLO, or the Wheel Cornell is also on VSLO, but I believe a part of it is also available for the non-VSLO candidates. So this is some big programs here on VSLO, but again, because there are just a few programs on VSLO, so even those few med schools who have the VSLO access and all the students are just applying to VSLO won't be able to get that into the small bracket, right? They need to apply for the bigger chunk, the 90% chunk as well. And for the people who don't have VSLO, you need to apply for the 90% chunk only. So what happens there is that you shouldn't chase VSLO first of all, but if possible, you can give it a try to persuade the authorities, administration or principal or dean, whoever takes your decisions in your med school or colleges, that you can get your med school registered on VSLO. So how that works is VSLO charges, I believe, 1100 USDs per year to each med school to be registered on the VSLO, right? So what you guys can do is, if you are a group of 10 to 12 people, you all can put in $100 each, give it to your med school, and you can ask them to do the paperwork and everything and get your med school registered on VSLO. Maybe persuading them a few times, 2 or 3 times or 4 times, helps them recognize that yes, this is something which is gonna help your med school get recognition not just in India but also worldwide. So doing this can help you guys as well. So this is one thing which you guys can do, but don't just give all your life chasing your med school people that, oh, get me on VSLO. There's no life without VSLO. Nothing like that. There are still 90% of programs which are available outside of VSLO. So you can again reach out to Mr. Abhishek. He has that list of programs which are outside of VSLO and where you guys can apply. It's a very big list which I have formulated with some of my colleagues and with Mr. Abhishek, and we can definitely help you with the programs outside of VSLO as well. So this is my view on VSLO versus
Right,
non-VSLO.
right, right. Great. Now, I'm sure a few of my students must have heard about signals as a concept, and few of them they must be new for
Yes.
signals.
Mhm.
So, can you just elaborate more on what is a signal and how does it work, and what would you like to tell our audience
So
about signals?
yeah, what happens is, for example, we are gonna have at least 14,000 to 15,000 applicants this year, if not more. Out of that, for example, there is a program which has got like 8 to 9,000 files downloaded from all the 8 to 9,000 applicants who applied to them, right? So what is happening is, suppose your application is lying somewhere here in the stack, somewhere little below the half line, you are lying somewhere in there. So signaling, what does that do? Signaling does this thing that it's going to put your application from here to the top, and that's how it's going to help you. So there is no program or program director or core faculty or program coordinator, whosoever is reviewing your application, that they are going to go through all these 8,000 applications and yours is going to come way below, right? But if you have signaled them, then there's going to be those 400 500 applications which are going to come in the top stack, and you might have a better chance of getting your application reviewed if you are signaling that particular program. So this is how signal works. It's kind of like on the Facebook, we used to have that old feature, poke. We used to, poke someone. Oh, yes. It's kind of the similar feature, signaling, that it's going to place you on the top of the chart. And yes, you have a better chance of getting interviewed and getting a spot of residency in that particular program. That's how it works. So choose your signals very wisely. Last year in internal medicine, talking about, there were 7 signals. This year there are 15 signals, 3 gold and 12 silver. So make sure you choose those 15 signals wisely. That yeah, these are reserve some for your dream programs and reserve some for the programs where you think that yes, you have a better chance of matching, because the matching is something that matters the most with a huge rush of IMGs applying every year, increasing every year, right? So matching is something that matters the most. So reserve a bigger chunk, I would say at least around 10 signals for those programs where you have a better chance of matching, or where the programs, they only read your application if and only if you signal them. There is a list. I mean, this is again a very subjective thing, that there is no such defined list. This list is going to change every year, but there are some programs with the mindset, or program directors with the mindset, that yes, I'm going to review this applicant's application only and only if he or she has signaled us. There are some such programs, and you should, I mean, keep them on the top bracket. Yes, that I'm going to go for these programs first, and then there are reserve a few 4 or 5 spots out of the signals where I want to match with, which are my dream programs, right? So this is how you kind of divide those 15 signals for yourself.
Right. Now, you just mentioned about the gold signals and the silver signals. Now, let's say a couple of years down the line, if anyone wants to use the signal, where can a student find that this year, how many signals, and where can the student find those signals?
So obviously there's the AAMC or the ERAS website where they're gonna have that information updated every year, and I think that they are gonna shift everything from the AAMC or ERAS website to Intel. That's a
Yeah.
new website coming up, which is just combining all of it, the OSs, the ERAs, the AMC into just one bracket. So maybe Intel or whatever, ERAS or AMC, that is the website where you're going to find every year that this is the signals, number of signals has changed, or they have a gold, then a silver, or a copper, or a whatever they're going to have. Like every year it's going to change a bit, right? As
Right.
per, because they are just trying to modify the system every year. That's going to change. And obviously staying active on, even on Instagram, on LinkedIn, so that's going to help you. There are a lot of pages out there. I keep putting out information over there. You guys keep on putting out information over there, the new information that is coming out. Everyone just needs to kind of be active on this social media and all, to keep getting such new information every year.
Any visa tips that you would want to give to our audience regarding B1, B2, because there's a lot of waiting time, and that being a very
Yes.
crucial factor, because for your step 3, you will need a B1, B2. For your clinical rotations, you'll need a B1, B2. So
Yes.
how soon, how early do you think they should be applying?
I mean, see, obviously, if you are gonna go to in your internship or the final year, you're gonna go for rotations and all. But it's better if you're in third or final year right now. It's better to secure a visa in B1, B2 visa right away. How you can do that without getting a letter from a particular program or a clinic that yes, you're gonna rotate with them and paying them for that letter. I mean, it's better you get a rotation letter, obviously. But if you don't want to get that, what you guys can do is you can just go to some travel agents or someone, make an itinerary of maybe visiting LA, Nashville, New York, whatever, or Chicago. Just make an itinerary that yes, this is how my 3 or 4 weeks trip is gonna be. Take that itinerary with you guys without getting anything booked, and maybe trying to get a visa interview and a visa secured that way. Number one. Number two, if you guys have some friends or relatives out there in the US, just take a sponsor letter for them from them, that yeah, this person, he's gonna stay with me for a few weeks and have a trip around in here, and then gonna go back to India. So that is another way of securing the visitor visa, the B1, B2 visa, other than actually getting the rotation letters, which is obviously a superior method as compared to these methods which I told you. So these are a few ways by which they can secure the visa B1, B2.
And in case if you think you can't do it, guys, just catch hold of any travel agent, and I'm sure they would be helping you with a B1, B2 visitor's visa. Right.
Yes.
So I believe it's been about a month or so that you've started with your residency. So how's your schedule like?
I
Is
mean,
it too
it's not been
hectic?
a month. It's just my first week going on, and
Oh,
yeah. So I'm just like today was my free day. So what happens in residency? We just get like 6 days working and 1 day off is usually how the schedule is. 1 day off per week. and rest other days it's just 10 to 12 hours of shifts you are just working. It's there's a limit of 70 to 80 hours per week obviously, and we don't cross that. But yes, even other 6 days when we are working, it's like a good experience. Initially it was like first few days was like, oh, I don't know the EMR system yet, I don't know which floors I'm gonna find the patients and all that stuff. That was a little tough, but obviously now we are past that, and now the learning phase starts. It's a very steep curve.
Great. I'm pretty sure, there's a lot of efforts that you've taken to reach here. So finally,
Yeah.
to sum up, who would you like to dedicate your success to?
I would like to dedicate my success to my parents, of course. They were the one who were supporting me throughout my journey, my younger sister. And then, of course, there was my maternal uncle. My maternal uncle, who was a cardiologist here in US, he was the one who helped me change my decision from NEET PG to USMLE. That was something that helped me. And other than that, of course, there were my friends and my seniors, my juniors, my mentors from my own med school and whom I met online, who helped me throughout this journey, because there are a lot of doubts. Believe me, there are a lot of doubts you guys are going to have throughout this journey. Maybe there is not one single person who will be always available for you, because we have our residencies going on along, right? So you can always have a few people around you online as well as offline who can answer your questions whenever you are stuck with some doubts or something. And yes, you will make your way through. So good luck.
Okay. Now, lastly, do you have any message for the audience that you would want to give out? What message would you want to give to the new generation who's trying to get into the residency programs? Any
Yeah, so
tips?
yeah, I mean, my message here would be just don't get too much into this journey. I mean, always have your hobbies to follow alongside, right? So I lost one of my hobbies which I'm trying to get back to now. One of those hobbies was swimming. I was a swimmer back in my school time, but I lost that during my med school and now during my USMLE journey. So always keep your hobbies on uh, alongside, because that's what's gonna keep you hale and hearty while this journey goes on, because this is a very journey with lots of ups and downs and depression phases going on, coming out. So this is going to happen. Have good friends. Have Keep yourself hale and hearty. Follow your hobbies. This is all I recommend here.
Great.
And yes, definitely reach out to me, to your seniors, Mr. Abhishek, in case you have any doubts, and ever feel low, just reach out. Don't feel alone.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That was really, warm words of wisdom for our audience. I'm pretty sure now they must have got a little bit charged up and got some more insights about how the journey is going to be. Because until the USMLE, people know more about it because it's freely available on the internet. But after the USMLEs, it's a personalized experience. And that's what we wanted to understand more from you as to what was your side of the story. All right. So on this note, I'd like to thank you so much, Dr. Ankur, for taking out time, and confident that your insights have greatly benefited our audience and inspired them with your wisdom. Once again, we thank you for taking out time off your busy schedule to make this show possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Abhishek. And my suggestion to all out there would be that you can reach out to Mr. Abhishek. He is he's the manager at Kaplan, and he can help you guys with your doubts with the USMLE steps, with the preparation thing, with the USCs, the rotation, securing those, with your ERAS application, personal statement, because personal statement is again a big part. I think I didn't mention it during any question. So you guys can reach out to him for any of those things, and he'll be more than happy to help you out with any of those. And because I believe Kaplan is one of the best one-stop solutions for the US. Thank you so much for having
Thank
me.
you so much. Thanks for your time.
Subscribe to this channel, tell your friends about it, share this channel with them, and yeah, don't forget to press the bell icon so that you get to know you're the first ones to be notified of the upcoming episode.